Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And this is a podcast. It's a podcast specifically designed to help us engage in the process of rethinking our inner city spaces. Meg.
Yeah.
There was an event today.
There was. Yeah. We had an event at Lemonade Tea and We got this along with 20 other community gardens, opened its gate just for a day of getting to know your local community garden, or let's get to know another one. We gave out seeds. We had Food Right come out, and they gave out microgreen kits, and it was great. I think the neat thing about when you put out an event like this, especially on Facebook, is that you get people who have never come to We Got This.
Sure.
And that was it was exciting. A bunch of people came, and we gave them flyers and said, come on out June 7th. So that was pretty cool to be able to, just get to know some people who might be in the area but have never come out to the garden.
That's great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. I feel like you were working down the street. How was that?
Yeah, I was. Big shout out to South Milwaukee High School, who volunteered or said yes when I asked if they would build us planter boxes. Because last year, we're trying to put in multiple thousands of square feet of growing space in these different lots, in the neighborhood, and you can't really grow food in the ground here. You're really not supposed to.
Well, I feel like the ground is so hard. That's the first thing. So amending the soil would take a really long time. And I almost think that's the biggest deterrent. Yes, there is also potential of lead being in the soil. But I think just the ground being so hard and not workable is almost a bigger deterrent.
And it's not to say that you can't grow food in the ground in our neighborhood at all. We do.
I do in my backyard.
You do. I don't. But and many other people do.
But you just need to you need to add nutrients to the soil because it has not been worked in 50 years. And a lot of the lots, people walk on them all the time. So it's very very
dense.
Hard. Yes, dense would be a great word. So
big shout out to South Milwaukee High School. They agreed to build some of the boxes for us.
That's awesome.
And I picked up the first round of them this morning. Got the trailer out and went out there early. Picked up about a third of the boxes.
Nice.
And with the help of one of the team members from Public Allies, who's been partnering with We Got This, installed 2 rows of what is set to become the flower farm.
The 53206 flower farm.
All right, so it didn't even know it had a name.
It has a name, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of flowers.
That's gonna be exciting. Yeah.
So
because who deserves beauty? Everyone deserves beauty. Yeah. We're gonna do some trellis stuff. My Instagram feed is all, do you need a trellis for, and so now I know how to do all these different things.
But you're gonna have them, yeah.
What's it called? Cattle something? Cattle.
I don't know.
Cattle cage. I don't know. It's it's a fence. Cattle fencing.
Sure.
So super excited to utilize the cattle fencing, and there's gonna be you can go underneath sweet peas. It's gonna be beautiful, magical, and all the things.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Great. Yeah, I'm very excited also to build this thing for you.
Thank you. Yes.
But great time out there setting stuff up, getting it ready, and it just reminded me of how much work it is building and setting planter boxes. But I mean, today you got I don't really want to do quick math.
That's how tired you are. Wow.
But a couple 500 square feet at least installed today, and I think that was about a fifth. It was a fifth or a sixth of what will be installed from now until the end of the summer, because it is kind of nice to have some of the kids be a part of it.
Sure.
You got to get some of the stuff ready in advance for the kids to come out on June 7th. But a lot of it is kind of fun to have a group of kids helping.
Yeah, in 2 Saturdays, I think there will be a group of kids helping. Start with those boxes and filling them and all that stuff. Yeah.
Was there something in particular you wanted to talk about today?
Kind Kind of.
Okay.
I think we had such a neat I think okay, I'm going to start this out with, okay, you know how like in high school there's okay, maybe you don't know this because you're not a girl, but there's like the pretty girl and you're like, I just want to hate the pretty girl. But you're like, oh, but the pretty girl like is really nice. And you're like,
oh, okay.
Like you want to hate this person, but you're like, oh, but like they're doing this great stuff and they're pretty and they're nice to you. Like they're just wonderful all around. And I had that.
A triple threat.
They're a triple threat. And you're like, I want to hate them, but I love them.
Okay.
So I had that experience this
like
week.
Caddy Herring before she was friends with Regina George? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't.
And then maybe after?
Sure.
I feel like she got better after.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. So I had
Caddy or Katie?
It was Katie, but her one friend called her Caddy.
Okay.
Which is just funny because we have a sister-in-law that it's spelled the same way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But her name is Katie.
Correct. You should really know that.
I do know that her name is pronounced Katie.
Yeah. So I feel like I had a similar experience this week. So we got in all these donations and
like financial, like people donated money.
Yeah, and so
on the website www.wegotthis.mke.com.
Yeah. And so I get all these emails and I'm like, how did this happen? Like you don't just get all these, you don't just get $1,000 worth of like all these different donations for no reason. So I'm like, I got to find out. And I'm like, okay, like I looked on Facebook, I like really tried to like cyber figure this out and I could I got nothing. And it turns out that Fernwood Montessori put on their Facebook page that they were like supporting We Got This.
Yeah, and so if you're a listener, you're probably in the Milwaukee area, or at least probably mildly familiar with some of the lead issues that Milwaukee Public Schools has been having lately. And because of the lead issues, and lead-based paint was used as kind of like the industry standard up until the mid to late 70s. Okay. And then they outlawed the inclusion of lead in paint products
because people were chewing
because
on
lead
them
isn't good for it's not good for anyone, but it's particularly not good for kids because it slows their development, right? So you become developmentally delayed if you have a high exposure to lead. And there really isn't a great treatment for that. Okay. Like you can't just like suck all the lead. I think that is like the treatment. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but it's not good. It's not particularly easy to reverse, or it is not reversible. So, if you're in a school, you could in theory have exposure to lead if, the paint in the building hasn't been cared for, or if it's peeling, or if you're in a very old building. All of these old buildings have lead-based paint, but they've been painted over in the last 50 years with latex. You're looking around right now.
I am.
But they've been painted over with latex paint, and if you're not, it sounds silly, but if you're not eating the paint chips, or if you're not ingesting dust from paint fibers, then you're fine.
Yeah.
It's just like if you have asbestos in your house, it doesn't cause you any harm until you start cutting into it or rubbing your face on it, like whatever, and there's like a little bit of asbestos in our house, but like it doesn't matter because we're not creating asbestos dust everywhere and then breathing it in over the course of a long time. But anyways, so these buildings are old, and old buildings have lead-based paint.
Yes.
And there is a process that you use, and I'm mildly familiar with the process, but basically you just don't want any lead particles in the dust in the air or the dust on the ground, and so you do a series of tests to determine if there's lead, in and around the air or the dust or any of those things. So multiple schools in Milwaukee Public Schools tested positive for lead, and because of that are currently even shut down. And so, if you're, I just think it would be insane if Lake in the Hills Elementary School was shut down because of lead.
Yeah.
We'd be bused to West Dundee or something, or Carpentersville. And so that is what's happening. In fact, the school behind our house, La Follette K-8 school, is currently shut down At least I believe it is still currently shut down and has been shut down for the last 3 weeks at least because of the lead problem.
Yeah, and so Fernwood.
And so, yes, it's not just the school behind her house, La Follette K-8 school. There's a couple of other ones. And Fernwood Montessori.
And so Fernwood is the pretty girl, okay? Fernwood is, okay. So we coach cross country and track. Sure. And Fernwood always beats everybody. But, like, they're always winning. They're always wonderful. You know, they're the team you want to hate. So when what happened was I was getting all these emails, so then I'm like, I'm just gonna ask these people, like, how did they hear about us?
Sure.
How did they hear about We Got This? And they said we're from Fernwood.
Right. And these, you know, when MPS is shutting down a school, like for example the school behind her house, they don't just have like an extended spring break. Yeah. They are bused to a school that has open space.
And so they said that they were so welcomed by the community. Where they're going to school now, which is over on 18th and Keefe.
Yeah, 16th and Keefe.
Which
is like eight or 9 blocks from our house, which is 7 or 8 blocks from We Got This.
So they were so welcomed and so it was so wonderful that they wanted to give back to the community. And I am just blown away. Okay? Like, I'm just like, okay, Fernwood, you, like, I want to hate you, but I love you.
Sure, because Fernwood isn't a school that is it's on the south side of the city.
It would be so I feel like as a parent I would be like, what? My kid is going to at least 25-minute drive.
They're taking a very long bus ride into a neighborhood that is very different than the neighborhood that Fernwood is located in.
It's just I think like the reason I wanted to bring this up because I just think it's such a neat opportunity that they took this as we're going to see what this community has to offer and we're going to give back. And I think I don't think I would have done that. And I'm very, very impressed with the parents at Fernwood. I just commend them and think, you know what? Wow. Great job.
Yeah. I think, what was that town? Partyville?
Partyville, yeah. They always have off on snow days. Man, yeah.
Yeah, I would assume if, one of the schools in Middleton was closed and you had to be bused to Partyville.
Yeah.
It's an inconvenience. They put these elementary schools in close proximity to where people live so that you can walk or have a short drive to the school. Mm-hmm. And, our kids also go to a Montessori school. Mm-hmm. It's a little farther away. At the time, it made sense geographically for where I was working. It worked out fine, and we decided to keep them there. But it would be a huge inconvenience to have to drive from the south side,
at 7 a.m.
at drop off and at pickup. It's not a great time getting over there.
Times,
but that was super cool to have them reach out and say, as a Facebook group or just a group of parents that are organized online to donate. That was really cool.
Yeah, and so I feel like what I wanted to talk about today was like, okay, how are we seeing opportunities as like opportunities to do something, opportunities to utilize how we want to make this world a better place, be more socially just. Mm-hmm. So but what do you want? Where do you want to go from there?
Well, I think sometimes the opportunity is in the aggravation. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, the world, whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, whatever, will use a situation that has the potential to be aggravating as a sign that this is actually an opportunity to do something good. Mm-hmm. And, when your eyes are opened to, because we had this happen a lot. Like I remember at the end of last summer, we had a group of teachers from South Milwaukee that came out and toured the gardens and did a neighborhood cleanup. And, they were doing like a small work day kind of thing as a part of their back to school week. And, you could tell that our neighborhood was foreign to them. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if they loved coming out. A lot of times teachers just kind of want to sit in their classroom and get ready.
Yeah.
And so, I could see that as a mild aggravation. Yeah. Like, I have to go to this thing. Mm-hmm. But, I could tell from speaking to them that their eyes were opened a little bit to what a different part of the world is like.
Yeah.
And then when your eyes are open to that, you can start to ask yourself some questions. Questions maybe being like, well, why is my neighborhood not like this?
Yeah.
Or how did this neighborhood get to be like this? Or what is an organization that, does some good in the neighborhood and how can I help be a part of that?
Yeah.
So, when you come across something that has the potential to be an aggravation, it's never a bad move to look for what are the opportunities to whatever way that you can contribute to do so.
Yeah.
And that's typically, I've found that is typically, gosh, I mean, even today. So, today I'm trying to get the trailer out of the lot because I'm going to pick up these boxes, right? And we have a neighbor. It's a lot of things going on. A lot of things going on, and life. I'm always reminded, like, life is hard for everyone. Just in general, like, my life is challenging. Yeah. Some of the challenges are my own fault.
Sure.
There are things that I tell myself that I'm going to go do, and then I
your
feel
list
like I have
is too
to
long.
go do them, right? And some of them are, some are self-inflicted, some are just inflicted by are just different sets of circumstances, and some are just random. But some she's had some challenges, and in particular, she's having some challenges with the building that she's living in.
This neighbor,
this particular neighbor, and when I was pulling the trailer out, it's very difficult to park this trailer at the garden. You've only got an alley's width to get in and out.
Yeah.
It's really tight, and there was a car parked totally legally, totally fine, in a parking slab that hadn't had a car.
Sure.
When I parked the trailer,
so
it was tough to get it in and out, and so I see her walking up, and when I'm working outside at the rentals, like, it's way more time consuming to work outside than it is inside because people want to stop and chat. Yeah. And I was already running late this morning. And so it would have been easy to see this as an aggravation or, something like, oh, I just don't want to go. I don't want to stop what I'm doing to have a conversation. Yeah. But, I can't tell people to do that and then immediately do the opposite thing. 7 hours ago. This doesn't work that way. So, I stopped and we started having a conversation, and she, was telling me why she doesn't smell great. Not that, like, she smells bad. Okay. Like, she doesn't have a great sense of smell.
Okay.
Right. That's where I was going with that. And she says she thought she smelled gas in the house. So I'm like, okay, well.
And she has been calling me
because she's having some issues with the building.
Yeah, and she thinks there might be, fire hazards. She wants to make sure there's not a fire.
Which, Meg, when you think that there's something wrong with our house, you respond in exactly the same way that she would respond. I want to try to figure this out. I'm going to call around.
I feel unsafe.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a totally relatable feeling.
And I just want to say there are so many house fires that I feel like.
I mean, there was, we live in the neighborhood that is you're 4 times more likely for your house to burn down from an electrical fire. So I would be worried too.
So there's a little bit of PTSD with okay, is my house going to burn down too? The one just burnt down 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time. Yeah. But she asked if I could come over and smell her basement.
That's a funny thing too. Yeah. Can you come over and smell my basement?
Yeah, she didn't ask it like that.
Yeah.
I guess super nice lady. Yeah. Just the luck of the draw just hasn't the card she's been dealt over the last couple of months. It's been hard. Yeah. It's been hard. Mm-hmm. So I said I can go over there and I can smell. There was no gas.
That's good.
And you could tell that meant that going there and smelling her basement meant a lot to her, and was I was 5 minutes behind my schedule, where because I think she knows that I know what I'm talking about with buildings, and if I walk in there and I smell gas, I'm going to tell her I smell gas, and I'm going to go shut the gas off. Yeah, I didn't. And then she asked me a couple of other questions about some things, and I was able to, tell her like, well, try this, and this.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, let me know.
Yeah.
And so, and it just, there's all these, you have to be putting yourself, there's like two aspects to this. Like, yes, I know that because of where I live, I have the opportunity to help more people with housing issues than I would if I lived in an affluent suburb, because they don't really need my help, right? Yeah. But if she's going to call a plumber to come out and look at the gas, I mean, it's going to cost her a couple of $100.
Yes.
And that level of margin just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If you're on a fixed income and you're expecting to use this money for food or to pay your utilities or whatever, it's not like, where you or I, I'll just go work another day or you'll build another website on the computer. It's not the same. And so, I gave her a couple of pointers and talked her through some things, and she had, kind of through another set of circumstances, she's like in charge of managing some of these other buildings, and you just if you're in, and this is probably a whole other podcast, but if you're in a situation where you're kind of like you're handy enough, but you don't know, there's so much fear in what you don't know that you can be pressured into making poor financial decisions about a house. Meg, I had got one of those text messages yesterday about somebody wanting to buy my house.
Sure.
And I went and I played along with the person. And I went into this whole big thing about, I asked this person if they were a robot. And they didn't respond. But then, I told them, like, I don't, that they were trying to buy the house next to us.
Okay.
The one that we're in right now. And I went into this whole big long thing about how I don't want a robot to live next to me.
Oh my gosh.
And then I changed my mind and I said, actually, I'm really sorry about the anti-robot rhetoric that I've been saying. I actually do want a robot to live next to me.
Okay. I got one the other day and I just texted them this podcast, like the 53206 cast, which I thought was fun. I forget I do that sometimes and I'm like, oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So, whatever. Like if you're paying attention, there's a lot of need in the world. Yeah. And if you're paying attention, you can find avenues to, my expertise about knowing if it smelled like gas or not. Like, for whatever reason, should smell great. Yeah. She can't smell or whatever. Yeah. So, whatever. Like that, there are so many instances in life where you can find through, whether it is the things that or the experiences that you've had or the connections that you have, where you can really make a difference for somebody if you're paying attention and you're looking for it. And coupling that with, if you're finding like, well, you don't have time for this or you're too busy for this, maybe that is a sign that maybe you do actually have time. Yeah. And maybe you should give a little. Yeah. And I feel like, the plug I wanted to plug is, so we had this event, Lemonade Tea and there was over 20 different community gardens that were a part of this, and like all of them need volunteers. Sure. All of them need donations, and most of the gardens are located in food deserts. Sure. And so like I just like I love this opportunity of like all of these gardens could use somebody just to go and help clean up or go and just reach out and say, hey, what do you need? Yeah. And we have this map now on I should link it to the We Got This website, because I feel like that would be it'd just be great for people to be able to see. But one of the main reasons we did this event was because we wanted people to be able to see where they could get fresh food as most of them are in a food desert. And so they don't have access to getting a lot of fresh foods and veggies, and most of the gardens that are doing this are free food. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to help, especially in Milwaukee. I know a lot of our neighbors have said, food is really expensive, and if I could just grow lettuce, I would do that. And so
I think food scarcity is creeping up on all of us, and I think people with little margin creeps up on a little bit more. And so if we can just help with gardens or with whatever is in front of you, that's great.
It's great. Meg, we're at time.
Oh,
but I had something else I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I hate when like podcasts are like, oh, we're actually going to talk about it the next time.
I'm not even going to say what it's about. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.